Hello, and welcome
Good
to the Chronic
morning.
Health Collective. This isn't just a community, it's a fresh start. We've gathered the best coaches and experts to help you reclaim your energy, heal from the inside out, and live with purpose. Whether you're longing for more energy, deeper healing in your relationships, or a life that feels more aligned and fulfilled, you're not alone anymore. Mm. Hello. It is Fearless Generations. I'm Kelly Fox.
And
And this
I'm
is,
Terry Sayre.
yeah. And we're here coming to you right before Christmas. And we're excited to talk and dive into some fears that come around the holidays.
Yeah, I think it's I was just talking to your sister the other day about, we have a lot of holiday traditions that we practice as a family. And this year we added another one, and some of the family members were getting a little overwhelmed. And I said, well, the expectation is that you pick and choose what supports you and live intentionally for your own family. So it was kind of like a let go, kind of let go of being in control and letting people make that decision on their own. Because it's my intention is to spend as much time with my family as I can during the holidays, and and I need to offer that and then let people make their own choices around their intentions, so that there's not the hurt or disappointment that comes from expectation, right?
Right, right. And there can be a lot of expectations that not only we feel others have of us, but the ones that we have of ourselves, right? And with that comes in what you were talking about was, possibly some silent contracts that,
Mhm.
everybody's going to show up. Everybody's going to want to have or will have the same amount of time to devote to family activities as you will. And so, yeah, that definitely can bring some hurt feelings and some um, resentment or, other feelings that we don't particularly want to have during the holidays, right? We want more peace in our hearts. We want joy. Uh, we want to feel that family bond and that family love as we're being present in the moment with our family in those moments that we've created instead
Yeah,
of, you know, those
yeah, I
other
know.
types of feelings.
I was teaching a class last Tuesday. Well, Tuesday of I guess that's just a couple days ago, and we were talking about expectations, and I went through the list in our Fearless Living curriculum that talks about feelings and things that you do that kind of are an indication that you're having expectations. So I thought I might mention a couple of those because it also, indicates that we're in fear when we have these feelings or we do these things like, feeling bitter or guilty or irritated or victimized or disappointed or ignored, um, dissatisfied, indifferent. We might have those feelings. Well, those feelings come about because we have an expectation and then we fear something, isn't going to be the way that we want it to be. And so those feelings come up, or we might act, hide or blame or whine or deflect or be irritated, and judge. And when we start judging people or we start feeling, um, that we deserve this to happen or we hide or those are also indications that we had expectations. And so expectations lead us to that disappointment, lead us to that feeling of judgment, either judging ourselves or judging others, right? And so all of those feelings or actions indicate that we have an expectation that's not being met. And so when I get those feelings or I want to go hide, I'll ask myself, what was I expecting? And when I ask myself that question, I can identify, because I've been practicing this. Doesn't happen instantaneously, but I've been practicing asking myself, well, what was I expecting? If I'm disappointed, what was I expecting? If I'm irritated, what was I expecting? And then, excuse me, when I can identify that expectation, I can then change my mindset. I can change the way I'm looking at it. I can have empathy, understanding, compassion for myself or for others. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think those expectations can be pretty sneaky. They can sneak up on you, and you don't necessarily know that you have them until you have that feeling, until you get irritated or disappointed or frustrated or whatever those feelings are. And you're like, oh, okay. I did have an expectation there. There were some silent contracts lingering under the surface, and that gives you the opportunity to then, um, assess, become more aware of what's going on around you, what's going on in your head and your heart, and talk that out with yourself or with someone else, and say, okay, what can I do now going forward because I'm aware that I
Yeah.
have these expectations. And
Yeah.
maybe it's a need that is coming up and it's not getting filled the way that you were trying to get it filled. So is there another way? Is there another way to meet this need? Or is there a request that
Yeah.
needs to be asked? A conversation that needs to be had so that those needs can be met. But that all parties involved are informed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, those silent contracts can really cause problems. My husband used to say, "I can't read your mind." I would just have this expectation that he knew how I felt, that he knew what I needed, that he knew, and he had no clue because I wasn't communicating. I wasn't expressing my need to him, and I was expecting him to just know what it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anytime we hear ourselves, well, you should know, or anything that seems like it's coming from, well, that's common sense, right? There's an expectation involved there. Not everybody was raised the same way, or thinks the same way, or processes the same way. And so, um, not everybody knows what you know. Mm.
Yeah,
So,
I think practicing the whole understanding or awareness of expectations can really change your relationships with yourself and your relationship with others in a big way. Um, some of the language that we use is another indication that we have an expectation of ourselves or of someone else. So words like should, have to, need to are also indicators, good evidence that we have an expectation. I should have, instead of saying I could have, I choose to, I can, I want. And there's actually a visceral experience in your body when you change your language, because when you say I should have done it, that brings up some shame, some blame, some judgment, right? When you say I could, it brings up possibilities and a whole different way of looking at our choices. And so it kind of relieves the tension around shoulding yourself, right? And
yeah.
letting yourself make choices. I choose, I could, I want to, I can. Those kinds of things lead to proactive behaviors, where should, need to, have to lead to self-destructive behaviors, because we're judging, we're blaming, we're shaming.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's another indication that we can help ourselves become more aware of where we are. Not only our feelings or our actions, but also our words can help us become more aware. Are we in expectation? And and then that gives us the opportunity to pause, right? Breathe and say, okay, where are these coming from? What is it that I'm wanting to happen? What would that look like? Or, if this expectation that I'm now seeing I have was met, you know, what would be happening? What would
Yeah.
be the outcome? And then being open to that outcome coming from other avenues,
Yeah.
other possibilities. when
Well, and
we're
I
when
think,
we're stuck in something happening one way, there being only one way to have something happen, then we know that we're stuck in expectation, because things can happen a lot of different ways.
yeah, and I think it also brings up when we're aware. and we're willing to ask ourselves, what was I expecting? And look at the why. We also recognize what we can control and what we can't control, because so many times the expectation is something we can't control. We can control our own reactions, our own behavior, our own choices, but we can't control others or even the environment, so situational expectations. So it underneath, there's also that angst, or that conflict between controlling and not control.
Yeah, as a mom, I know that I have definitely gotten stuck in that whole control expectation. My kids are going to be a certain way, or love a certain thing, or play a certain sport, or whatever it might be. And they end up growing up and having their own lives and not really caring about my visions and dreams were when they, were in the womb.
Yeah.
Right? So it's being aware of um, where are these things coming from, because ultimately as a mom I want my kids to be happy, and if the things they're choosing are making them happy, then yes, that's what I want, right? So where are those thoughts or those expectations that you're having, where are they coming from? What's driving them? And what's the feeling or the experience that you're ultimately wanting to experience, and can that be met in a way that fills everyone's needs or
Yeah.
supports everyone?
And I think another indication that your needs are being fulfilled is when your needs are being fulfilled, there's a sense of joy, right? There's a sense of peace, there's a sense of satisfaction. When they're not, then there's that angst, there's that anxiety, that um, disappointment, that because your needs aren't being met. It's also, so you can ask yourself, what need is it that I have, as well as what am I expecting? Well, how is that? What need is underneath that? Is it loneliness? Is it acceptance? Is it, what is that need that's underneath what you were expecting as well? So you can go deep when you're willing to be aware and willing to be reflective, and your desire or your intention is to have good relationships, to grow as a human being, to be, to have joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's getting clear on how it is that you're wanting to show up, and what it is that you're wanting to accomplish in the situation or with the person. If your intention is to have a good time or make a connection or be present, then whatever happens, you're going to show up in that way, and you're going to make that connection. You're going to have that closeness. You're going to be present. And so, um, you know, it's all about, okay, what do I have control of? I have control of me. And so how am I going to show up? What am I going to say? How am I going to, look people in the eyes? Or how am I going to mingle around the room, or whatever it is, whatever situation you're in the holiday season? How are you going to show up?
Yeah. Well, when we have our family gatherings around Christmas, I have 21 grandkids, and I have 5 children, and they all have spouses. So it's a lot of people. I mean, not everyone's here, but the house is full when it's time. And my intention is to be present. And also my intention is to be aware, to be observant, to listen. And my intention is to be loving and inclusive, and stay calm. That's my intention. I have control over all of those. I can be present, I can stay calm, and there's rather a list of proactive behaviors I can practice in order to stay calm. And I can prepare. I can prepare my environment. I can prepare myself by being intentional. Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit more about what an intention looks like and sounds like.
Yeah, it's an intention is a process. they're so simple, but yet there is a process of writing them and practicing them, and it's a practice. I don't think I was, it wasn't something that I got my first time. And so, as you continue to practice, like Terry was saying, I didn't do it the first time. It's been a practice, right? So it's something that you practice daily. And we'll talk about, what are some tips and tricks on how to make, setting an intention and having an intention statement a little bit easier for you, as you go into, like setting a intention before you walk into that holiday party, or before you pick up the phone call, or even before you send the Christmas card. What are things that you can do to support yourself, set yourself up for success, and have the experience around the holidays that you're wanting to experience.
Yeah, I think we're going to take a break in just a little bit of time, and after the break, we'll even share some intentions so that you can, you'll be able to write your own intention. And we know from so much research that writing things down is a powerful way of making change in your life. So we'll talk about that process and how you can go about writing an intention and then practicing it. So we'll be back right after the commercial.
When you look in the mirror, do you see skin that's just dry, tired, and stressed? It's time for a new ritual. Introducing Deep Love, the blue botanical face cream by Coolness. We've captured their tranquil essence of blue botanicals in a cloud-soft formula that deeply soothes irritation and restores your natural, healthy glow. This isn't just skincare, it's an act of self-care. It's Deep Love. Find your calm only at coolness.com. Scan the QR code now to visit our website.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of review and kind of summarize what an expectation is, because I think we've talked about it, but we really didn't define it specifically. So this is some of the ways that you can recognize that, because an expectation is what you hope or you believe or that should happen. You hope or believe it should happen as a result of what you think, what you say, and what you plan. So thinking about Christmas, you're making plans. So believing circumstances and situations or people should be a certain way. And I do that I probably do that to myself more than I do it to other people, that I should act a certain way, right? And believing that you should, they're kind of outer focused, and they give you permission. They give you permission to blame and to judge when things don't go right. So expectations we've talked about the common signs, we've talked about the feelings, the way we act, we've talked about the language of expectations. So Kelly, let's talk about intentions now. The antidote to an expectation is an intention.
Yes, absolutely. And like we were saying before, it's what you're going to practice to be able to show up, to step in and and feel, behave, embrace what you're wanting to, regardless of what's happening around you. So intentions start with, today I'm willing to practice. And we say those words because we're going to do it today. And we say we're willing because that's what's going to help us take that action, own that choice, is that we're willing to do it. And then practice is so important because we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to get it right the first time. Maybe we'll react as normal and then remember, oh yeah, we're practicing this, and we get to step back into it. And so today I am willing to practice. And then what is it that you're wanting to practice? Do you want to practice, taking deeper breaths? Do you want to practice pausing? Do you want to practice having compassion for yourself and others? Do you want to practice seeing the lightness or the happiness of the situation? Whatever it is, you get to practice it. And as you write it down and put it up around yourself so you can remember that that's what you're practicing, then you get to step into that a little bit more each time.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that it's proactive. An intention is proactive. The word not is never a part of an intention. So you're not going to say, today I'm not going to be impatient. No, today I'm willing to be patient. So proactive in the present tense, focused on being rather than doing. And then it's about you, and it's for you. So today I am willing to practice. So do you want me to share one of my intentions? And
go for it.
It'll give you an example. So you can have intentions for your, just your way you want to take up space all the time, or they can be specific for a certain thing. So I have some in areas of my life, like relationships, health, work, spirituality. So I'm going to share my health one, because around Christmas time, I have to work especially hard to, do a lot of things that are more healthy. So I have a affirmation that I say every morning, and intentions are different than affirmations. I have an affirmation when I look in the mirror. I don't know if you're familiar with Mel Robbins and her high five habit. So I always give myself a high five in the mirror and say, "You've got this, girl," because that's a habit she says can change your life. And then I say, I have abundant energy. Now, those of you that have listened to us before, I'm 80 years old, and I'm not stopping. I have no plans of stopping. So I tell myself every morning, my affirmation, I have abundant energy. Now, my intention is, today, I am willing to practice habits that result in abundant energy. That is my intention. Now, going past my intention to goals, I have set 5 goals around my intention. Today, I am willing to practice habits that result in abundant energy. Number 1, I exercise daily. 5 days a week, I walk 3 miles. Saturday and Sunday, I usually don't walk. I have a little dance video I can do. I have exercises I have some aches and pains that I exercise around. My first goal I wrote was, I'm going to eliminate sugar from my diet. Well, that wasn't going to happen. I adjusted it and I said, I will eat less sugar. So I'm conscious and aware of how much sugar I'm eating. Exercise, eat less sugar, be aware about how much sugar I'm intaking. I take supplements. I had a gastric bypass about 15 years ago. I can't eat a lot of protein rich or vitamin rich foods. My system doesn't tolerate them, or just such small amounts. So I take supplements that help me to have more vitamins, so I'm not anemic, or that I'm more healthy. I get 7 hours of sleep a night. I used to say, I can get on 5 hours of sleep. I'm just, superwoman. I don't need to sleep 7 or 8 hours. I need to sleep. And I'm not saying need in a way that's an expectation, a need for my body to function. It needs 7 hours sleep. And then the last one is that I read something inspirational, spiritual every day that helps keep my cognitive processes working, learning new things. Now those are the 5 habits that today I am willing to practice. Habits that will result in abundant energy. So see, I've internalized that intention. That's an overall intention. I don't write it every day. It's in my mind. I live it. It's how I show up. It's my being. Now, I write a daily intention in my journal, or something that's happening that day. And a lot of times my daily intention is, today I am willing to do what I can, when I can, the best I can, which is my antidote to perfectionism. And that is often my daily intention. I write in my journal in the morning because I suffer from that addiction called perfection. And that's my antidote to that, because I understand perfection is a myth. It's a myth.
Yep. It's not attainable. But I think it's so funny because we say that all the time, that perfection is not attainable or even desired, right? But then during the holidays, it's the perfect Christmas dinner, or the perfect, Christmas picture for the Christmas card, or the perfect cookies, or whatever it might be, right? That word perfect can ease its way into a lot of things around the holidays. And that's where, it can be sneaky and come and get you, and you're not expecting it. So, just be careful with your languaging, and allowing perfect to not necessarily represent a specific outcome or result, but that all of you were together. So that's what the criteria is, of what perfect means.
Yeah. Just spit that word out. Whenever that word starts to come into your mind, go. Sometimes I'll say it, and then I'll correct myself, and I'll, on that mantra, I say, nope, do what you can, when you can, the best you can. And that's relative, right? That's different. That's situational. And just being aware that I can give it my best, and my best today may not be my best tomorrow, but today I can give it my best. And that's helped me a lot to attack that expectation of being perfect, which we're culturized to feel that way, aren't we? I mean, many times and probably as a parent, I did this to my children as well. Kelly can probably attest to that, is that I wanted them to be perfect, because I felt perfection was what gave me value, what would bring other people to appreciate me, was that I did the perfect thing. And I looked perfect, I smelled perfect, and I would show up for imperfection. And I spent a lot of time, I was a teacher, a lot of time doing that perfect bulletin board, giving that perfect presentation, giving that perfect opportunity to, shine. And what I did was just wear myself out to where I didn't feel valued, and I wasn't doing my best. And so that when I took on that mantra of do what you can, when you can, the best you can, that being my intention rather than the expectation that I would be perfect, I began to value myself. And amazingly, other people seem to value me more too and want to be around me because I was much more inclusive and friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think any focus that we want to have, you know, can be a challenge, right? If we're super uber focused and that's all that matters, right? And so perfectionism can be one of those super focused ones. And so, just taking a step back and really assessing what is it that you're really wanting. And that's where the intention can come in and play. What is it that you're really wanting? Are you wanting a deep connection? Are you wanting to, what's that feeling? Are you wanting to feel included? Are you wanting to feel like you belong? Are you wanting to feel joy or peace or whatever it is? What is that thing that all of these choices that may not be supporting you right now, what are you wanting to get to? Like Terry was saying, she wanted to feel valued. Well, what are other ways of getting there? What are ways of valuing yourself, so that then others, will value you as well. Right.
Yeah, because that's so good because it's it's process. Intentions are a process, and they're inner focus because everything starts with us. If we don't feel valued, it's because we're not valuing ourselves, right? So it's that journey, that process of learning to love and value yourself, inner focused, and then the value will come because you value yourself. And really, that's all you have control over. And when you value yourself, how do you show up? And if you're valuing yourself and your overall intention is to, I would like to walk into a room and people would feel that I love them, and I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm talking about that spiritual quality of love. That's what if you could have a little, they talk about your aura. That's what I would want my aura to be, love. But if I didn't love myself, if I didn't love myself, could I have that influence, that aura that I was love? No.
Nope.
So that's why it's inner focus. That intention is inner focused. And it's you being the best you can be today. And if you have a cold or you don't feel well, your best today is going to be different from your best when you physically are healthy. And, it's amazing when you give yourself that compassion, that empathy, you give it to yourself. I can do my best and I'm willing to do my best instead of, oh my gosh, my eyes are red. I can't go outside. Oh, my hair is hair. I know that I'm just going to bomb this lesson, but I'm going to do my best today because I know that I have value. I know I love myself just the way I am. And I've prepared to do my best. It's a whole different way of looking at life. I mean, I could talk hours about how you get rid of perfectionism, and I don't think you ever get rid of it. It's an addiction. It's on the list of addictions. And so it's just knowing proactive behaviors that make better choices so that you can show up as who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah. And intention is definitely a proactive behavior that we can practice all the time. And there's lots of different ways that we can practice it. Terry talked about her intention around health and the 5 ways that she practices it. But there are also other things that she can practice that aren't those 5 things, right?
Absolutely.
Proactive behaviors, right? So there's a long list that you can brainstorm around on how you can support yourself to show up in the room the way that you want to show up and be
and you
present.
can write those down. You can write those down too. when we work with our clients and we're teaching them about expectations, and we teach them about self-destructive and proactive behaviors, and the difference between those is you can make a list of your proactive behaviors. And when I first got into fearless living, I had it on my refrigerator. It was take a breath, pause, walk outside. I had a list of proactive behaviors that I could pull on until it became automatic. And so that's a way to function as well. Well, we're going to be taking a break here in a few seconds again. So we hope that you're just kind of ruminating these thoughts of, well, what am I expecting? What am I feeling? What am I doing that may not be proactive? So we'll be back in just a little bit after we have the chance to take another break. Any last thought before we take a break, Kelly?
Nope.
Well, we've got a few seconds, so just keep thinking about that. When we come back, we'll kind of tie it all together and give you a little challenge for the holidays that might help you as you're going into this.
Why do 98% of beauty enthusiasts rave about coolness? It's all in the blend of ancient wisdom and modern science. Introducing Coolness, Pearlescent Face and Eye Serum Cream. This powerhouse combines the antioxidative power of schisandra berries, the glow of pearl powder, and the hydrating wonders of dragon's blood extract. It's like a time machine for your skin, making it radiant, firm, and oh so smooth. Inspired by ancient Chinese traditions and backed by modern nutritional science, this serum cream is perfect for dry, mature, and aging skin. It's time to unlock your inner glow with Coolness. Treat your skin to the best of both worlds today.
Welcome back.
Okay,
Didn't you just love that commercial you saw about our retreat coming up in October of next year?
Yeah, make an intention right now to attend. Yeah, I thought we might go through some questions that people could ask themselves as they were preparing for the holidays, which are going to be upon us here almost momentarily. I think there's some questions that you can expand your awareness around expectations and intentions. You can focus those on the holidays, just reflecting on past experiences that you've had, maybe some disappointments you've had in the past. When it comes to family gatherings, it's probably one of the most challenging times when we come together because we have such high expectations and we look forward to them. There's an intense joy around bringing families together, but it can also be a very difficult time in most families. There's a lot of different opinions, and people can get excited about talking about their opinions or whatever. But if you could just think about a time, and maybe around the holidays, when you were disappointed, and when was the last time that you were disappointed and around this time of the year? And were you disappointed in yourself, or were you disappointed in others? Because I can think that for me, I can just share one of my disappointments around the holidays is if some of my children don't come. For whatever reason, I have kids that don't live right close to me. Sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. And I can make up all kinds of stories about why they don't come, which I really don't know. And I can be disappointed. And so that can be an expectation, right? The antidote to that expectation, how I might, have a different intention around that is that I intend to have a warm and loving atmosphere decorated to the hilt, because I have control over that. And I can make their favorite foods and they can come. And my intention is to provide that environment and then to invite them. And then I'm not attached to them coming. The outcome is not dependent on them coming. It's there for whomever comes, and whomever comes, I will just be happy and love to have them there. And call my kids that didn't come and wish them a Merry Christmas. And my intention is to let them know I love them unconditionally.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really important before you open the door or walk through the door or even plan the menu to have an intention of how you want to show up and why you're going to the event, why you're hosting the event, why you're doing what you're doing, why you're buying the present you're buying. You know, I think that I know for myself, I have a lot of nieces and nephews. And, you know, when it's like, okay, so like one of my nieces, I usually have her in my in our Christmas exchange, because my family is big and so I get a lot of people, but she's usually on the list. Well, I know a few things about her. So I go and I look for a present. Oh, and I put so much pressure on myself for it to be like this present she's going to open and love and just be so excited that she got it for me. And she's going to know that her Aunt Kelly loves her so much because she knows that she would love this gift, right? Like I put all of this pressure on myself, right? And so when I'm looking at gifts, you know, instead of getting something maybe that was $20, I'm looking at things that are like $40 because then she'll really know that her Aunt Kelly loves her, right? But can I really afford to get everyone on my list an expensive gift? No. So, you know, having these expectations of myself, right? Like she doesn't have that expectation of me. She already knows I love her because of all of the other things that I do and I say. But if I put that on myself, then, you know, I'm watching her reaction with an expectation. I'm, you know, wrapping it with expectation. I'm giving it with expectation. And then it's, you know, the odds that it's going to, you know, meet any kind of need are kind of, you know, null and void, right? Like there's, you know, the why you were giving the gift in the first place is kind of lost in all of the expectations that you had around it. You know, you're not buying it so they're going to love it and cherish it above all other gifts. You know, you're not
Yeah.
gifts so that you get a gift back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not sending a Christmas card so that that person always sends you a Christmas card, right? So just watching, you know, why our motivation for doing what we're doing around the holidays.
Yeah, I think that's it brings up a point that we talk about a lot too in our content and coaching is not being tied to specific outcomes. And sometimes that's hard for our clients to they grapple with that because, well, that's what I want, you know, I want it to be this way, I want it to be that way, expectation, right? And so it's a practice to practice not being tied to specific outcomes and just being open to possibilities, and then not tying things to what other people, we make up what we think other people are thinking, right? I mean, that's a part of coping with life is, well, you know, that person's thinking this, well, they didn't like that, well, and that's we ask ourselves, is that true or am I making it up? And so many times when we're in that realm of expectation, we're just making it up. We're making up how other people think, how they act, how they feel. And so that's another really helpful thing to ask ourselves is that true or am I making that up? And I remember when I was, long before I started coaching or, you know, transforming my own life into one of intention. We would have for Christmas dinner, or maybe it was Thanksgiving, I'm not sure. I don't know, but a special dinner, and we had invited some people outside of the family. So then my pressure was it had to be even more perfect, right? We had invited guests outside of the family. And so certain family members bring certain dishes. So this had to be Thanksgiving. So one of my daughters was supposed to bring cauliflower. I love cauliflower. It's a part of my tradition. I can't have Thanksgiving dinner without cauliflower. She didn't bring it. I was livid. It turned really, we had this big fight in front of these other people. And now this is probably, maybe 25, 30 years ago. Every time we have Thanksgiving, she brings the cauliflower now, and it's like we laugh about it because we recognize that was, that was such a petty thing. And yet, because it was making me look bad because my dinner wasn't perfect, I had a hissy fit. And now I can look back on that and say, I didn't want to be that way. That wasn't the way I really wanted to show up. That wasn't my true self. It was the way I acted because I had these expectations of myself to be perfect. And now I can laugh about that. But it was it's carried on for all those years. That's how much it everybody remembers that. And my kids appreciate the fact that I now live intentionally rather than in that land of perfection.
Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't me. I wasn't the daughter.
No, it wasn't her.
Yeah. I think though that, we can get stuck on, if someone does something a certain way, it means this, or if I do this, then it means that. But everybody sees and feels and hears things differently, and we can't determine how someone is going to interpret something. We might know someone really well and think that they'll react a certain way, but we don't really know. And so we can kind of get stuck into having a conversation with someone by ourselves. And that's when, silent contracts come into play. That's when resentment or other kinds of feelings can come into play, because we're not actually having the conversation. The conversation is what is going to really give us what we want. It's going to give us that deeper connection. It's going to give us that deeper sense of belonging and inclusion, is having those conversations that we might be avoiding because we're telling ourselves this or that is going to happen if we have this conversation. Right?
Sure. And I think being tied to specific outcomes can really put us into that area of disappointment, or frustration or overwhelm, as having these, this tie to the specific outcome. I'm a God girl, and I really believe in inspiration, and I really believe in intuition. Comes from my spirituality. And over the years, I've just learned that if I trust myself and whom I want to be, which I talked about, being a person that comes in and people feel loved, that's whom I want to be. Well, in order to fill space that way, then I can't be tied to an outcome about how other people act or what other people say. I'm tied to how I take up space, how I think, what I say, how I feel, and how I can practice doing my best. And it just makes a huge difference in my life on how I can be in a situation that's chaotic, but yet not feel chaotic. I can feel joy and peace because I am being who I want to be. And when I do get irritated, I can ask myself, what was I expecting? Is that the way I want to show up? And I can change that. I've practiced it enough that I can change that, the way I'm taking up space, the way I'm showing up. But it takes practice. It takes intentional thoughts, intentional actions, intentional words, where my intention is to be loving. The outcome is dependent on other people's choices. Not for me. My outcome can be peace. because that's my intention. So it takes practice. I've been practicing for years, and there are days when I get disappointed. I mean, we're all human, but then we can ask ourselves, what was I expecting and what need was not being fulfilled? And then we can fulfill that need by asking for help, or, through prayer, whatever it is, we can fulfill that need.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we are coming to a close, and I want to ask, what we normally do here is we ask a silly question to kind of learn a little bit more about each other. So, since it's almost Christmas, Terry, what was your favorite Christmas gift that you got as a kid?
As a kid,
Yeah,
a
as
horse.
a kid. A horse. Mm.
Yep.
That's all you're going to say.
It was a pony, and nobody will know this unless you're my age, but I used to watch the Cisco Kid on TV all the time. It was my favorite TV show. It's a Western. Cisco Kid and his sidekick Tonto, who is an American Indian, Native American, and he had a black and white pinto horse. Cisco Kid did. I loved that horse. Well, I think my parents rescued this horse from going to the glue factory because it was very old and very, because my parents didn't have a lot of money, but under the Christmas tree was a box of sugar cubes. Now, my mom and dad said, go out to because we lived on kind of like a little farm, go out to the barn and you'll see why you got this box of sugar cubes. And I go out and there's this black and white pinto, little pony, not a pony, he was a full-size horse. And I couldn't believe it, right? He wasn't beautiful like the Cisco Kid's pinto horse, but it was my horse. And I probably had him maybe 4 or 5 years, and then he passed away. But I would ride that little horse around because we lived out in the country, and in those days kids could ride around, not have to worry about it too much. And that was my favorite Christmas present as a kid, for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, anything I can think of now just seems so small in comparison to a large animal.
Well, your mother wouldn't have let you have an animal anyway, but
No, she wouldn't have. She wouldn't have.
So what's yours? What's your favorite?
Well, now I'm thinking and I can't think of anything, but I mean, I got a lot of fun toys, of course. One that I was thinking of is, I don't know if you know who Rainbow Bright is, but when I was a kid, she was pretty cool. And there was this, I don't even remember what the dog's name was, but there was this sidekick dog. And the toy was you would smooth down all of its fur, and then you would take it and you would shake it, and its fur would all go. And I played with that thing all the time, and I just loved smoothing it down and then shaking it and have it all puff back out. And it was all rainbowy colored and all of that kind of stuff. So that was definitely a fun toy when I was a kid. Yeah. See, so but yeah, another thing, my half sisters, who are quite a bit older than me, especially because I'm the youngest daughter, they got us all movies. They got us a VCR, the big time VCR, and we all got our own movie. And mine was Care Bears, and I watched
The Sound of Music.
Yeah, I watched that movie so many times, and I passed down my love of Care Bears to my kids too. So my kids have all seen the Care Bear movie and Care Bear Cousins and all of the things that came out after. And so, yeah.
Care Bear scared.
Yeah. So, well, that was fun, but we would love for you to learn more about expectations and intentions and how you can get through your holidays with less angst and disappointment. So go check out our website, fearlessgenerations.org. You can learn more about Terry and I, as well as our retreat, which you saw the commercial for, and all of the other things that we do there. So go check that out. And if today's episode,
be sure you write an intention about how you want to show up. However you
Yeah.
celebrate the holidays, whether you celebrate Christmas or you don't. If you're having a family gathering for any reason around any special occasion, write an intention. Today I am willing to practice, and then don't tie it to a specific outcome. Just tie it to a sense of peace, a sense of joy, and that's how you want to show up. And then practice that. And just like any skill in life, sports, whatever, you practice. And the more you practice, the more you master that. So the more you practice intentions, the more you'll live intentionally, until it becomes a way of showing up, a way of being, is that you are intentional in your thoughts, in your feelings, in your words, and your actions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Practice, practice, practice.
And it's not practice makes perfect, because some people say that. It's practice leads to mastery.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Terry. Thank you for being here with me today.
My pleasure.
And, being able to share what it is that we love. And if today's episode spoke to you, don't go it alone. Book your free consult with one of our expert coaches at chronichealthcollective.com for personalized support. And subscribe to our monthly magazine for expert tips from all 11 coaches to elevate your health, mindset, and relationships. Catch us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, or watch past episodes anytime on E360 TV or youtube.com/@chronichealthcollective. Thanks for tuning in. Your transformation starts now. See you next week.
Bye.